Hello artists, so this is part 5 of our letter painting video. For this part, before we paint, we need to be looking at the color wheel to help us decide what colors we want to choose. I know that I want my leaves to be green, so I need to choose analogous colors to paint. So analogous means that they're right next to each other on the color wheel. So I'm going to be using blues to paint my letter, and then later I will be painting my leaves green. So if you're doing, let's say you're doing basketball and you have basketballs inside of your letter, you will want orange probably for your main image. So your backgrounds would probably need to be an analogous color red, or you could do your backgrounds in yellows. So for our paintings, we are going to be using these awesome paints. These are called tempera cakes, and they're semi-moist temperas. They work a lot like watercolor, except temperas are better because they are more vibrant. So I love these paints. And you have a lot of different colors here. A lot of them, you really can't tell what colors they are. So you'll want to get a scratch piece of paper from the front of the room to kind of test out your colors as you're trying to figure out what colors to use. I made this little example to show you how the process is going to work. So for painting, you'll want to get a cup of water. You'll want to keep your water clean. So as it gets pretty dingy, go and get new. Get you a few brushes. I like to start with a larger medium brush, especially to paint the background. So for my letter, I have leaves in my design, and I want my leaves to be green. So I chose the analogous color blue to paint my background. So I'm going to use my scratch piece of paper to look at the different blue paints to kind of pick what colors blues that I want to use. There's lots of different options. Make sure as you're changing colors on here that you're rinsing off your brush. I do not want any of these paints to have any other colors on them, especially the white and the yellows. I don't want to see green on this white. I don't want to see yellow on this white. So let's make sure our brushes are cleaned off before we switch colors. So before you start, you do want to put a little bit of water down on your paper. When you use these paints, we work wet. And the reason why we work wet is it helps us to blend our paints more. And you want to be really careful. It's okay if your brush has a little bit of pigment in it. Kind of helps you to see where the water is. You want to stay within the lines, be careful. The reason why you work wet is because it helps to blend out the paint better. And it's really satisfying and fun to kind of watch the paint move. On my letter, I wanted my lighter blue to be on one side and then my darker blue to be on the other. Your background should be a couple of different tones of the same color. So if you're doing a background that's maybe red, you could do like a pink and a red because it's the same tone, but don't do two different colors. You want to stick with a background that's the same color. You'll see as I start to paint right here where the rubber cement was, it's resisting the paint, and that's what's really cool about this project. I want a little bit more pigment in that area. So I want these two colors to blend, and they're not really blending. So I'm gonna rinse off my brush and grab a little bit more of that light blue, and then use my brush to kind of blend them together. Isn't that cool? Ooh, okay, while it's wet, what I want you to do is you're gonna take some salt. You'll have cups of salt. Do not go crazy with your salt. You're not going to pour it on there. You're gonna take your fingers inside the salt, and you're just gonna sprinkle it in a line across your painting while it's wet. This is gonna create a really cool galaxy effect on your paints. Only in a few spots make the lines across the painting, and then allow it to dry.